again, feedback that I could take and apply to my everyday life. The S, the stabilizing piece, so the pace, I scored pretty high on that. I want to say it was like high 80s, low 90s out of 100. And some of the feedback it says hate sudden change, chaos, and confrontation, which for me, I like consistency, I like comfort, which is crazy. I got into entrepreneurship because there's none of that, but I think that's what stretched me and pushed me to continue to grow. So that's the S. And then high C, I was a very high C. 99 out of 100, I think that's the highest you can get. So when it comes to procedures, preferences, protocols, standards, some of the feedback I gave there was data driven, detail oriented, thinking 5 steps ahead. So, setting up systems and processes that are fail safe, that are future proofed and things like that, and mitigates risk. Like that's something that I really focus on. And if you think about, those that know kind of our business, like, and what I focus on is very data driven. I talk a lot about that, detail oriented, thinking 5 steps ahead. Like, how do I set up systems and processes that, no matter if the team performs well or doesn't, you're in a good position. You have consistent work that you can do. And so the name that they gave to this personality type was the air traffic controller, which is funny because I think in high school or college, my uncle said I should be an air traffic controller, but like they're the ones behind the scenes making sure that the flight, is safe and lands and everything like that. So it's just funny looking back on this because it truly is unbiased. It was 100% spot on, and it gives you feedback and information that can help you just improve in your personal life and your professional life, everything like that, and just help you be a better professional. So I would definitely encourage, whether it's that assessment or a different assessment, like just understanding that. And one thing that's cool too that they do, that's the personality side, but they also do a values assessment too. And so you can understand the type of personality that you are, but then also understand like what's your purpose and like what motivates you from that standpoint. Because someone could have the same personality, but someone's driven by a bigger purpose to helping other people out. Well, someone may be driven by money. So like understanding your values to mix with your personality, that really guides you in the right direction so that you're leaning into your strengths and you're doing the things that motivate and inspire you, and not just what society or other people tell you they think you should be doing based on who they think you are. So that, yeah, I definitely encourage. And it's good for me to kind of reflect and look back on that because it's been a little while since I've looked at it. And I think now with the information, how things have played out in my life, my career, I see more of this now than maybe I did when I first took the assessment and kind of read through and skimmed through it. So it's good. It helps me, and it's information I could take for the future. So recapping the series. So key takeaways, key topics that we covered. We talked about managing introverts and what that looks like. So in those situations, you probably need to give them a little more space. Have them work in quieter settings if you can create that environment for them. Nudge them to speak up sometimes because they're not always going to be the one that speaks up in meetings. So understanding that if you're working with or managing introverts, like what are their personalities and how do they show up, especially in a sports sales environment. If you're a manager or a leader as an introvert, so what does that look like? And for tips that I touched on in that video were, because of our personality type, we kind of let our work speak for itself. But sometimes as a leader, you have to be more vocal. And so we thrive and we crush it in like small one-to-one group type settings. But in like larger settings, we got to be brief and get out. And then maybe give the room or give the mic to some of our more extroverted people who are more the rah-rah and can pump people up. But I'd say even like, not just from a team standpoint, at an executive level, like they want to know that whoever's leading, especially a sales team, has a presence to them. And so there have been times where I've leaned really into my introvert. I'm like, this is just who I am. That hurt me in executive settings because although it's not a requirement to have somebody who's demanding and decisive and extroverted, I think that gives people a level of comfort because just that sense of like, oh, that person's confident, like they've got everything. So I think, if you are an introvert, like understanding in those settings, like how do you exude confidence and lean into your strengths, but also make sure that people know that you have a good grasp on it. Your work can't just speak for itself. If they're not in the day-to-day work, like they need to know that you got a good grasp on things. So vocalizing that, sharing, get out of your comfort zone and kind of bragging about yourself sometimes. Like those are things that help you in those type of environments and situations. Also making sure you show up for the extroverts on your team. And then we also touched on just knowing where personalities are the best fit. Again, it's not just about the personality as a certain role, but understanding what are their strengths, where do maybe they not thrive in certain situations, so you can best motivate and inspire them and everything like that. So I think the best thing from doing all this was just the feedback that I got through it. And, going into it, I was super nervous because I'm like, all right, like I'm going to tell the whole world I'm an introvert, which they already know. But as someone who does like sales coaching, like you think, a consultant, like they're motivating, they're inspiring, they're pumping people up. And I'm literally telling the world, like, that's not me. That's not my style. But I also learned early in my leadership career, like leaning into that is where, I'm going to attract the most people. So, to kick off the series, I was really debating, like, all right, do I do this? Do I not? But I decided to go for it, and I'm so glad I did. And to kick it off, before I post a video on YouTube, I posted something on LinkedIn, just letting my network know that, hey, I'm rolling out this series. Tune in, subscribe to my YouTube to find it. And I had a picture that went along with that post where it depicted me as a younger seller in a sales environment where me as an introvert just kind of at my desk doing my thing, and there's all these extroverts around me. They're ringing the bell, they're like waving their sales order forms, like very like loud culture. And I got so many reactions and responses to that of people, just like, oh, that resonates with me. That really hit home with me. And so I posted it in the morning before church, and I came back after, and like all these comments, all these likes, like I wasn't expecting it. If anything, I was like, oh, I'll post it, and maybe I'll get some feedback from it. But I met a ton of people through it, like a lot of new connections, a lot of people that said thank you. I've always felt this way, and I've never really known how to vocalize it. And you kind of put that picture into words that gives me more confidence now too, because I see you've had success throughout your career, and that just inspires me more to know that although I'm maybe different than the people around me, I can have success. And one of the things I've always thought when it comes to a content standpoint, like I was super nervous to like get out there and just start writing and posting on LinkedIn and doing videos and stuff like that. I'm like, oh, what are my friends going to say? They're going to make fun of me, which they don't. But I always said, like, if one person takes something away from it, it's worth the time, worth the investment to do this. So I feel that's something that God's just put in my heart, and I've always been inspired and motivated to do it. And I think this just reaffirmed that, like really leaning into who you are and your beliefs and your strengths and everything like that. So it was really cool. I actually met with somebody, a younger salesperson, who said, yeah, there's never been a picture that better depicted how I felt. And, I want to keep this conversation, keep this dialogue going. I've had managers reach out. I've had extroverts reach out, like, wow, like I didn't even know, like, this about people or about you. So, it was great from that standpoint, just to connect with people and make new connections and everything like that. It gave me a different level of confidence because I'm truly authentically like operating in who I am, and like attracting the right people. And there may be people like, nope, like that's not my style, and that's okay. But from a business standpoint, it's also helped too, because it's helped me connect and meet with new people. Some people inquiring about the business, and I think just the fact of me opening up and sharing has allowed them to connect with me on a deeper level too. So definitely glad I did it. It allowed me to again reflect and just look back on as an earlier rep, as a manager, as a leader, and now an entrepreneur, like where I struggled. And so as I talk to other people, I've been able to give like just honest feedback about, hey, here's some of the things that I probably could have done different. And it's just been fun going back and going through that and taking this information now and learning on how I can continue to improve. But more than anything, just the confidence to really be myself. And I'm going to attract the right type of people if I do that and stay honest and authentic and consistent to that. So next series, super excited to get started on that. So over the next few weeks, I'll start working on different content and ideas around that too. But it's around building a sales team from scratch for 2025 and beyond. So where we're at today, what I've learned from all the different teams I talk to and work with, and all the different things that conversations that I have on a consistent basis. And like if I were to start a team from scratch, what would that look like? What would the makeup of the team be? What would be the tech stack that I use? What are some of the things that I'd really hone in and focus on, like as it relates to bringing in experts and consultants and things like that to work? What's the size of the team? I think a lot of that depends on the league, the maturity of your brand, where you're at in your growth stage. But trying to kind of benchmark all that and level set it, like what does that look like for the future? So excited to dive into that. If anyone has thoughts, feedback, questions around that, I think that'll be great as I prepare some of the content here. But as always, appreciate tuning in, appreciate the feedback, appreciate the comments. I think one of the coolest things that came from this, I almost doubled my subscriber count on YouTube so I can brag to my daughters, because they always give me a hard time about the number of subscribers that I have in YouTube. So that's been good to get that up. But yeah, if you have any feedback on this, definitely share it. And I'll be back next week with another video. Thanks.